Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to Ask Dr. Drew. We are streaming live right now on X and across the interwebs. I'm your guest host today, Kira Davis, as you can tell. I am not Dr. Drew. I think that much should be obvious the second you tuned in. And I like to think I'm a little bit better looking than Dr. Drew, but I'm definitely not going to replace him as host. I'm just here for today and thrilled to be filling in again. You saw clips from my last stint as a guest host here. I had such a great time and I'm so happy to be back. We've got a great lineup today. California Assemblyman Carl DeMaio is going to be here. He's going to talk to us about voter ID initiatives here in the state and some other crazy things that are happening, including a mileage tax that Democrats are trying to push through for the umpteenth time. They may get it done this time as well. So we're going to talk to Carl about that. You don't want to miss that. And then Christina Buttons is going to be here from the Manhattan Institute, and she's going to talk to us about the ICE Watch signal groups and the network that is forming to support the anti-ICE activities and the Antifa-led rioters, as I call them. So we're going to talk to her learn a little bit more about how that money moves around and what she's discovered. And you saw in that opening clip me talking about, in that clip I was talking about the church invasion led by Don Lemon, led by journalist Don Lemon. And I was talking about how we're in a battle here, right? And our enemies know where we're weak. We're weak on principle, right? They're not invading mosques. They're not invading synagogues to the same extent, but Christians seem to be on the menu. And I always liken this to the larger battle for liberty, because really that's what Christianity, the notion of Christianity rests on: liberty, liberty from certain cultural oppression at that time, liberty from the dark side, from Satan, liberty from government oppression. So it in and of itself represents liberty. And so does America. And you know what else represents liberty? The Super Bowl. And I don't know if you watched it on Sunday, but I did. Well, I paid attention. I had my TV on. I wasn't really necessarily engaged in the game. It wasn't a great game. Sorry, I'm not a big football person, but it wasn't a great game. But the halftime show is what I wanted to see, and I watched that. I watched Bad Bunny. Y'all didn't even know who Bad Bunny was until he showed up on the scene to spit some nasty things at Trump and ICE and immigration. And then they put him on, NFL puts him on the main stage at Super Bowl. And I had a real problem with this. I actually recorded a podcast on it yesterday. And I will tell you what, there's a lot of people out there, even a lot of conservatives, and I'm a conservative myself, and I call these people conservative contrarians. I do not like it. And a lot of people out there telling us you're overreacting. It's just a Super Bowl halftime. Not everything is a culture war. And my question to you is when then? When is it the culture war? When do we look at something and say, this is enough? This is actually a direct poke, a direct attack on the notion of American culture and the unity of American culture. At what time are we allowed to say that this is a problem for us? This wasn't a man looking at you, America, the Super Bowl audience, and saying, hey, I'm here as one of you. I want to celebrate this very American experience. And there are a lot of you out there who are also telling me, well, Kira, this is just the NFL expanding their business. And there's a lot of business in Latin America. Okay, fine. I'm a capitalist. I'm a dirty capitalist. I don't mind that. But the Super Bowl is uniquely American. It is a uniquely American experience. Fine. If you want to sell it to the rest of the world, sell America. Don't sell Latin America. Don't sell Bad Bunny, or don't sell Puerto Rico, which is a territory of America. It's not even a state. And I know all of a sudden a lot of liberals have discovered Puerto Rico and discovered that Puerto Rico is in America. They don't really care about Puerto Ricans or how Puerto Ricans see themselves in this country. They don't care. This was a direct poke at the American spirit. This was to say, old America is dead. This is new America. This is a cultural battle space. The Super Bowl is one of the most influential sporting events or events in the world. So if you want to sell the Super Bowl to the rest of the world, sell America. Give the people the one thing they can't get where they are. America. That's what it's been selling this entire time. That is what has made us the most powerful, most influential, most culturally dominant nation in history on the face of the planet. Everyone wants to be us, so sell us. And the NFL on Sunday was selling us something that was distinctly un-American and not aimed at us. So yes, I do take great offense at that. And yes, this is the culture war. If not here, where? All right, that's my rant. Let's get on with the show.
Our laws, as it pertains to substances, are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
Welcome back to Ask Dr. Drew. We are streaming live. I'm Kira Davis, filling in for my friend Dr. Drew today. You can find me on X at Kira Davis. You can find me on Instagram at Just Kira Davis, JUST Kira Davis. Go to my website, justkiradavis.com. Go buy my book, Drawing Lines, Why Conservatives Must Begin to Battle Fiercely in the Arena of Ideas. And I just wanted to say that if you have a problem with my opening monologue, please do write Dr. Drew at askdrdrew.com. Send all your complaints there. He takes them very seriously. He reads every one. That being said, and I'm very serious, send all your complaints to Dr. Drew. That being said, we've got a great show lined up for you today. I'm excited. I'm here in California. We've got a big gubernatorial election coming up in 2026. It's a banger. It's already making history for the two Republican candidates that stand at the top. But there's a lot more going on in this election cycle here in California. And I think the rest of America should be paying attention to it as it pertains to what is going on nationwide, considering voter integrity. I don't think it's a big secret that California has some voter fraud issues. We've got some election integrity issues. And given how large our state is, and given how influential our state is, and how many electoral votes we have, it certainly does bode well for us in America at large should be concerned about how we are prosecuting or litigating our electoral process here. So I'm really happy to invite our first guest on the show with us. He is a stalwart of Republican activism here in the state of California. He has been doing the Lord's work out there. He is the host of Reform California and the podcast Reform California, chairman of Reform California, and a California state representative in Assembly District 75? Yes, 75. I almost said 79 because I need my glasses. Welcome to the show, Carl DeMaio, Assemblyman Carl DeMaio, coming to us live from Southern California. Carl, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, we're both in California. It's almost cliche to say that it's crazy here, and we're up against a lot, but it's crazy here, and we're up against a lot. Outside of this gubernatorial election that's happening, which a lot of people are excited about and tuned into, we've got some other bigger fish, maybe not bigger fish to fry, but big fish to fry. You've been working on a voter ID initiative, trying to get it on our 2026 ballot. I believe, Carl, and I know you believe too, that voter ID, just the simple act of requiring voter ID, could change everything in California. What are the odds of us getting this voter ID initiative on the ballot?
Well, it's so great to be on with you, Kira. Voter ID is common sense, okay? The only people that don't want voter ID are politicians and liberal newspaper editorial board writers. Everyone else, Democrats, Republicans, everyone in between, they support voter ID. It's a 70% issue nationwide. It's even a 70% issue in the state of California. What I'm trying to do with voter ID is not just to benefit California. I mean, obviously, I want to save our state. I want to enact this game-changing initiative so that we can actually have honest elections, fair elections, restore public trust and confidence, all that good stuff. But here's my other goal. If we can do voter ID in California, then the U.S. Senate, what the hell are you waiting for? Why have you not passed the SAVE Act? and all the other purple states and red states that don't have voter ID on the books. What is wrong with you? If we can do it in California, you have no excuse, honey. You need to get this thing done. And so I am sick and tired of Republicans giving excuses or sitting on their hands and doing nothing, while Democrats literally ruin any notion of fairness in our democracy. And so let me tell you about this initiative. It's not just voter ID. When you read the initiative, it's a state constitutional amendment, which means the politicians can't pass a law down the road to undo it. It's an amendment to the California state constitution that starts first with something I believe is more important than even voter ID, and that is cleaning up our voter rolls. The state of California has allowed fraud, and they have a 4-step process for going and creating fraud in elections. They're not hacking into Dominion machines. It's not happening that way. I believe it's happening right before our very eyes in terms of these really bad practices that these politicians have put in place. Number one, they mandate that the voter rolls cannot be maintained. They literally allow the voter rolls to go completely out of date. And remember, California is such a hellhole that millions of Californians have fled our state in just the last few years.
And so, let me ask you about this one point before you go on to the second point. And don't lose your place. I want you to keep running down this list. But if isn't this a violation of federal law? Is it not a violation of federal law to not clean up your voter rolls?
Yes. We have multiple federal statutes, state statutes, the Help America Vote Act, the National Voter Registration Act. These are two primary federal laws that say that it is the duty of each state election officer, the Secretary of State in most states, to maintain accurate voter rolls. And then that duty cascades down to every election official. So your county election officials. But the person under those two federal laws that's explicitly called out with responsibility is the Secretary of State. However, what happens when, the Secretary of State has decided not to do their job as they're doing in California, and that there are no judges on the bench that are willing to enforce federal law? Well, then you've got what we've got in California, which is they intentionally let the voter rolls go out of date. In the 2022 election, the Transparency Foundation did an audit of the election in California, and they found that 9.6% of people on California voter rolls in 2022 were phony, were ineligible. Many of them were illegal immigrants. Some of them just were not eligible. And most of them, however, had moved out of the state long ago. But why would you intentionally keep people on your voter rolls? I wonder what would happen next. So step 2 is you use that voter roll that's completely out of date to do universal mail-out ballots. And this is what the blue states, including California, did in the 2020 COVID era, is they basically said, we have to use mail-in ballots to everybody because nobody trusts or is comfortable going to a polling station. Guess what? That rule is still in place. So now we do mail-in ballots. Everyone gets a mail-in ballot. That means that you're creating orphan ballots. With the Transparency Foundation study, it shows that California mailed out 2.2 million orphan ballots, erroneous ballots to people who don't exist or shouldn't be receiving them. Now, what does that then yield? Step 3. Step 3 in California is they legalize ballot harvesting. California is the only state in the union that has made it legal for strangers to go out and collect ballots without any sort of blood relationship or power of attorney. And now left-wing NGOs are given taxpayer funds to harvest ballots. They go to apartment buildings. They don't even have to dig up dead people at cemeteries to vote. No, they just go to an apartment building and they find mailboxes and they go to postal centers and pick up these discarded ballots for people who moved out of the state long ago. And so 2.2 million orphan ballots, that is the currency of voter fraud, my friends. That is the tool that the harvesters are getting their hands on. And then finally, step 4, they don't require verification of identity. They don't even check signatures on ballots out here in California. So these are the 4 problems we have. What does our initiative do? we require, number one, that the voter rolls have a duty and responsibility for each election official to maintain a proper voter file. And it also subjects those voter files to audits every 2 years. Before we do an election, the auditor has to come in and do a random sample and verify that it has a quality standard that's acceptable within national norms.
Cut in here, Carl, and ask you, because you're up in Sacramento, you're an assemblyman. You've been fighting. Everybody knows that you're working on this initiative, and you've been fighting. You introduce things all the time up there. What are your Democrat colleagues? What is their problem with it? What are they telling you? I'm just, my mind is blown because I'm just trying to understand I've waded through the whole it's racist thing for decades. I think we're finally past that at this point. Most Black people understand that that is absolutely ridiculous. But what could possibly be your rationale for opposing something like auditing the voter rolls every 2 years? That seems like a very basic function of government. Why on earth would you oppose that?
Well, it's not only auditing, but it's requiring citizenship verification as well. And that's
why would you
a key part. And then voter ID. Well, they continue to say it's racist. Well, the other thing that they said when I introduced it is the Secretary of State came out and said, we're already doing all this. Okay. It's a lie. You're not doing it. We're already doing all this. Then they came out and said, well, in order to do all this, it's going to cost us hundreds of millions of dollars. And I said, okay, so which lie is it? Is it that you're already doing it, in which case there's no cost associated? Or, oh my goodness, this is so dramatic a change in a reform package, we're going to have to do all this extra work that it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Which is it? Which lie are you peddling today? The reality is none of the above is true. This is common sense. Just do the election properly. And by the way, this is why 79% of California voters, including 65% of Democrat voters, approve of citizenship verification and audits. And of course, 68% of California voters support voter ID, which includes 54% of Democrats and a supermajority of independents and Republicans. But might I also add, voter ID, for it being called racist, in that polling, non-white voters support voter ID by a larger margin than Caucasian and white voters. It's amazing. These minority voters are like,
white awful.
We support
white women that are.
Yes, it's the guilty liberal whites. Yes, they're so guilt-ridden that they must say, "Oh my goodness, this must be bad for minorities." And of course, the Black guys sit there saying,
"Stop helping us, please. Stop helping us, ladies.
I have no problem with it. I'm voting for it." So we believe that we had to get 1 million signatures. So we had to do a petition drive because they killed my voter ID initiative in the legislature. They didn't even give it a floor vote. And now we've got 1 million signatures. We're forcing it on the ballot in November. It's going to pass. They're going to lie. They're going to cheat. They're going to steal to try to stop it. They're going to sue us. They're going to go to the courts. But guess what? The voters are going to impose this reform. And we have 1 million signatures, which is what the requirement is. We validated those signatures. We're submitting them in a few weeks. And then we're going to build a statewide campaign. And let me tell you, this will also have an impact on congressional seats in California, state legislative seats, even dog catcher seats, because it will boost the turnout of Republican voters. The enthusiasm will be higher. Right now, I'm terrified of the midterms because Republican voters are just not showing up at the same rate as the Democrat voters. And we've got to change that because our country is on the line. So this is our plan in California through a grassroots movement. We got no big money for this. We had to do a grassroots movement. 18,000 volunteers statewide helped us collect these signatures, and it's been marvelous. But the fight's not over. In November, we have to make sure we get a yes vote when voters go to the polls. Now, let me also say
what you said, Carl. Oh, please go ahead. Say
to the national audience. To the national audience. I know sometimes when you hear California, it's like watching a car accident on the freeway. You slow down and you gawk at it. That's what California has become. But you need to pay attention, even if you don't live in California, to what's going on in this state because of two things. Number one, you cannot have a healthy, secure, prosperous, and strong America with a sick California. But number two, if you don't know what's going on in California and help us stop it, the contagion will spread. We have the highest cost of living, the worst homeless crisis, a crime wave. We have the worst job market in California. We've infringed upon people's freedoms. Everything has gone to hell in California. If you don't believe me, find a California refugee who lives down the street from you now. They will tell you why they left the state. It's miserable here. But I'm staying and fighting because I cannot let this great state, which I used to be so proud to live in, go into the gutter, the way the left has put it. And we also need to protect America by fixing what's going on here in California. So pay attention and yes, send some support to us freedom fighters behind enemy lines here in California. Give us a little bit of help.
Don't be so mean to us. We are really trying our best here. It's terrible to get it coming and going, Carl, because it's like we're fighting here and then people just crap on us for being fighters like it's a losing battle. I don't believe that, first of all, and I know you don't either, but while we have some time left, I'm so glad, Carl, that you said one thing this initiative will do is it will give Republicans a reason to come out. I have been shouting it like this from the top of the mountains. We got crushed in Prop 50, not unexpected. But, we got scolded a lot from Republican leaders telling us you need to go out and vote early. We need to be competing in the early voting. I get all that. I agree. It's just the way it is. But it felt accusatory, like you're accusing the base of not caring, but the base cares too much. That's the problem. The base cares so much, they are defeated. And the Republican Party in California is not giving the base a reason to go out there and to feel confident that their votes will count, that they're fighting for our votes out there. We don't feel it. Maybe there are some
The Republican Party fought us. They fought us on voter ID. The establishment, Republican consultants did everything they could to poo-poo and undermine and dissuade people from participating. They sat on their you-know-whats and did nothing to help with signature collection. Oh, but you know what? They'll be at the front of the parade when there's a success here, taking credit for it all. It is the establishment Republican Party, they are worthless and they have sold us out. The only thing they know how to do is surrender in the state of California. And you see some of that happening nationally and in the Senate right now on the SAVE Act. But this is where grassroots activists don't give up. When you see the Republican Party screwing things up or not fighting effectively enough, that's when you need to double and triple down and get in their faces and say, you need to do your damn job. And then you need to just simply go out and organize other grassroots activists to fight alongside you. And I know it can feel daunting at times, but if you're not you, then who? If not us, right here and now, when is it going to happen?
Yes. So absolutely. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? Carl, before we have to go, I want to tell people another reason why voter ID is going to make such a big difference, as you said, from the top of the ticket all the way down to dog catcher. Here's one interesting thing that they're trying to get over on us in the assembly right now: a mileage tax. So a mile, yes, it's what it sounds like, folks. Getting taxed for every mile you drive in California. Now, please understand that everybody drives in California. This is not a walkable state anywhere. Maybe in San Francisco, there's places you can walk, but mostly people drive. So this is, Carl, help me out here.
So here, this is the latest scam of Democrat politicians to get into your purse, get into your wallet. They want more of your money. And by hook or crook, usually crook, they're going to try to do this. The mileage tax would charge you every mile you drive on top of a gas tax, on top of a car tax. In California, they're proposing a 6 cent per mile mileage tax. 15,000 miles, which is the average mileage on a car per year, that's $900 more. California 2-car family has to pay $4,200 in gas tax, car tax, and now this new mileage tax if it's imposed, just to have the privilege of driving on crappy roads. Oh, and it gets worse. Those of you who live outside of California, they're coming for you too. Do you know that Joe Biden in 2022 pushed through his Build Back Better plan, got his budget, his climate change provisions in that bill, And it requires, as of January 1st, 2024, every new car sold in the United States has to have a mileage tracker on it. It's track and tax time, baby. They want to actually monitor the movements of your car, the mileage on every new car, so they can eventually impose a mileage tax easier. Those of you who have heard about New York City, they have a congestion tax, not very unlike the mileage tax that they're considering in California. The whole notion, though, is they're declaring war on your car. They're using it as a way of getting your money. And this is an insane overreach by government. We are going to try to defeat the mileage tax by putting an initiative on the ballot as a companion measure to the voter ID initiative. But more importantly, if we can break the supermajority in Sacramento by flipping 7 legislative seats, we can stop the mileage tax from ever happening, because we'll deprive the Democrats of the votes they need to pass it. So we're on a mission to stop the mileage tax in California, and we're warning people across the country. Joe Biden and the Democrats nationally, they have a plan to do this in every state. And the only evidence you need of that is take a look at all these new cars coming out with mileage trackers that can electronically report your mileage at any given time to the government.
Okay, well, we'll end on that very positive, encouraging note. But Carl, we do thank you. I know this is the world we live in, but this is the whole point of a show like this, right? To inform people, you should be upset. You should be nervous. You should be thinking about it and talking about it and working on it. Carl DeMaio, thank you so much for joining us today. You can follow Carl on X at Carl DeMaio, or go find Reform California. Find out what Carl is doing for this state. I can promise you, as a California resident, that Carl and Reform California are working their fingers to the bone every single day on this issue. So thank you, Carl. Keep up the good work out there.
And thanks for what you do to shine a light on corruption, waste, fraud, and abuse in the state. We really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I'm sure I'll be seeing you on the battlefield, Carl. Godspeed. All right. We've got to take an obscene profit timeout, as the late, great Rush Limbaugh would say. Let's go earn some money. I'll be right back. I'm Kira Davis. I'm filling in for Dr. Drew on Ask Dr. Drew.
I'm a physician, and I'm always watching out for products that can combat some of the more common frustrations of aging, like decreased energy, brain fog, maybe muscle and joint complaints. I want to share something with you. It's called Strong Cell. Strong Cell's key ingredient is NADH, something you've heard me talk about. It's the energy source for every cell in your body. The challenge is that NAD and NADH decline naturally with age. And with more than 30 trillion cells in your body, you got to keep them healthy. Healthier cells equals healthy you. Strong Cells become part of my daily routine. You might notice a difference: steadier energy, sharper mental clarity, better resiliency. But what stands out to me most is the company's focus on quality. They also use a proprietary delivery system to help the ingredients get where they're intended, to the cells. Supplements have to be absorbed, and they have to get to the cells, and quality matters. If you want to feel more like your younger self, go to strongcell.com and use code DREW for 20% off. That is strongcell.com, promo code DREW. Strong Cell is also backed by 100% risk-free money-back guarantee. So go check out Strong Cell today. That's strongcell.com, promo code DREW. You only get one body, one chance, so invest in your health and be the best version of yourself. What's going on with your retirement savings? This should concern all of us. Inflation is not some abstract notion. It quietly erodes purchasing power over time. This means that savings you had in 2020 have already lost roughly 22% of its value. This isn't politics, this is arithmetic. But the troubling part is most retirement accounts are correlated really 100% with equity markets. So when markets drop, your savings drop. Retiring at the wrong time can undo decades of work. That's why many people look to physical gold and silver for protection. And that's why we suggest Augusta Precious Metals. Their entire approach is very different. There's no pressure. They just give you education and information. Augusta explains how gold or silver IRAs work and how physical metals could fit into your retirement account without tax consequences. And they've operated for over a decade with thousands of clients. They put together a free guide that walks you through everything. It's available now at drdrew.com/gold. You'll get the same educational materials that Augusta gave to Susan and myself. So if inflation worries you, Augusta is a great place to start. Go to drdrew.com/gold. That is drdrew.com/GOLD, or just text the word Drew to the number 35052. That's 35052 to get that free guide now.
That's brilliant. And thank you, Drew. Where's Dr. Drew? Where is he? Dr. Drew. Dr. Drew.
Welcome back, everybody, to Ask Dr. Drew. We are streaming live on X and across the interwebs. I'm Kira Davis, filling in for my friend Dr. Drew. You can find me on X at Kira Davis, or go find my work at justkiradavis.com. We were talking to Carl DeMaio earlier about all the craziness going on here in California, and it's really crazy across the U.S. And before we get to our next guest, I just want to tell people that it feels really chaotic right now. Virginia is redistricting. We've launched now some gerrymandering battles here. We thought that was going to happen. That's what happened. I know a lot of people are nervous. This is how I feel about everything that's going on. This is the fire. This is the cleansing fire. And we're going to come through it, but everyone's got to hold the line. You can't just fold right away when things get rough, right? This is part of the battle. We didn't win the battle on election eve or election night in 2024. We won a victory, and everything that we have seen unfolding, including the Super Bowl halftime show, including that. Again, going back to my opening monologue, it matters. When do you decide the culture matters? At what point? At what event does it matter? Doesn't matter. So including what we saw at the Super Bowl, the NFL basically giving you the middle finger, you, the average American consumer. It's all a part of this battle. They are losing. They are losing. And they have had the bully pulpit for years. Look at Bad Bunny. He was telling us, you're not America anymore. We're the America. Those girls twerking, they're not dancing. They're twerking their asses in your face. They're telling you, get out of here. Kiss my ass on the way out. This is the new America. You have to be a naive idiot to think that that's not what that show was. Was it entertaining? Yeah. I think I would have liked it if I saw it at a concert. You cannot get away from that Caribbean jive. You know, that Caribbean, there's a reason why there's so much soul down there. But that was not an American Super Bowl performance. That was a middle finger. That was telling you old America's over, new America is here. And for a long time, we believed it, because it felt like we were in the minority. But as we are quickly coming to discover, we are not the minority. And in my estimation, we're actually the majority. We meaning every American who's not a left-wing lunatic. That's most of us. They have commandeered all the avenues of information, and they've been delivering us misinformation and lying to us. Yes, the new America is Spanish speaking. No, it's not. English is the official language here. Super Bowl is our game, not soccer. You can sell it here. You can tell us all you want that the majority of the world loves soccer. We don't give a shit. We play football in America, and if we allow you to entertain us with soccer, we'll do that. So this is the culture war. The Super Bowl, the Grammys, Carl DeMaio talking about voter ID here in California. It's all culture. It all matters. And if you don't say anything when you see something is wrong, you're complicit in it. That's how they've gotten away with all this for so long, because they had so many of us so scared to say anything. It made it seem like the other side was winning, and they're not. They're losing, and that's why they're killing people, because it's war and people die in war. All right, sorry to make this so serious. Go, if you want to hear more ranting and raving from me, just go find my work on my podcast. Go to justkiradavis.com. You can hear me spell all of my craziness. I promised Dr. Drew that I would not rant and rave about satanic baby eating cults this entire show, but I have to tell you, it's really hard. It's really, really hard. So why don't we do this? Why don't we get to our next guest? Because speaking of satanic baby eating cults, let's talk about Antifa and what's been going on with the anti-ICE activism out there. And our next guest is Christina Buttons. She's an investigative reporter at the Manhattan Institute. Her work focuses on a range of social issues, including pediatric gender medicine, child welfare policies, youth mental health treatments, and immigration. She previously worked as an independent journalist and for Quillette and even the Daily Wire. And you can hear her sometimes co-hosting a podcast with the great Peter Boghossian. Christina Buttons joins us now. Christina, welcome to Ask Dr. Drew. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Hi, Kira. Thanks so much for having me on.
Well, I heard before we started the show, you did say that you were from California. You had lived here in California. You're no longer here. You've moved. You've escaped. You made it out. You made it past the Iron Curtain. What was your California experience like here? Is that what prompted you to move the state?
Yeah, it was a few different reasons. I grew up in California, all over California, from the Bay Area, San Diego, and then most recently I was in Los Angeles, and most recently in Hollywood, Los Angeles, where it had become kind of like an extension of Skid Row. It was pretty scary. I think I don't need to elaborate on what I mean by Skid Row. I think you understand the picture.
Yeah.
But there's also other things that appealed to me about Tennessee, and that's why I moved out here about several years ago.
Well, we're sad to have lost a great resident and journalist like you, but we're glad you found greener pastures. But let's talk today about what you've really been spending months really working on. You've been digging into sort of the dark money web, the dark network of anti-ICE, Antifa-led or other organization-led groups that are now organizing. They're very well organized. I think this whole thing has been pitched to us since 2024 as this sort of organic protest movement, of people who just really care about immigrants. And what you're finding is exactly the opposite. Organic protest movements do not work like this. Tell us a little bit about what you found about some of these anti-ICE networks.
Yeah. Well, after several weeks of my investigation, I found that Minneapolis's ICE Watch network isn't just this sort of organic community uprising, and nor are they merely observing ICE activity. It's a structured operation with national backing and a record of encouraging non-compliance and chaos that we've already seen has led to 2 people dying.
What is you say it's a funding network. Do you have any idea where the funding comes from? Have you been able to track down anything?
Yeah. So this is what I've been able to piece together, what happened from watching ICE Watch trainings. There are local activists in Minneapolis who work at nonprofits. They linked together with this national organizing hub called States at the Core. On December 1st is when they formed this group called Defend the 612. And States at the Core is part of this, the Arabella Advisors Hopewell Fund. They're a fiscally sponsored project of it. So that means that they're connected to one of the largest progressive funding streams of dark money. And some of the members of States of the Core, they were responsible for pioneering this ICE Watch model back in 2017. And they created a national strategy out of it. And they've been working to implement it in cities across the US wherever there is a visible ICE Watch presence. So November, they were working in New Orleans. Once Operation Metro Surge began on December 1st last year, they turned their focus to Minneapolis, and now it appears they've turned their focus to Pennsylvania.
Fascinating. Pennsylvania, which is going to be a really huge voting battleground in the next upcoming 2 elections. And they've also got some voter integrity issues. Like they're trying to purge voter rolls there, all kinds of stuff going on in Pennsylvania. That's fascinating. When I was maybe about your age, maybe a little bit older, and I first started in this business, I was out covering the Occupy Wall Street protests, and I was embedded in a couple of those over the years. And what I saw there is exactly what I'm seeing from these groups. As a matter of fact, I suspect it's the same people. I think it's the same funding structure. I'm going to tell you the story, and then I would love for you to comment on it and see if it matches up with what you've heard from other people. I was at a protest reporting on it during the day. They got violent. The police showed up, started arresting people, but then a different class of people came in. A lot of them had suits and ties, or they looked like they were business people, not the hippie homeless class that was protesting. And I was standing beside one of the protesters who had just been arrested, and his friend turned to one of the suit and tie guys and said, they're arresting us. What do we do? And he said, we already have lawyers at the jail. Don't worry. He'll be out by midnight. And that was when I first realized that this wasn't an organic protest movement. These people were well funded and well organized by people who wouldn't dare put themselves on the front line. There's a lot more behind this than just people who are angry.
Right. And this group in particular, Defend 612, they work with the National Lawyers Guild. They instruct members to memorize their hotline. They are receiving free legal services. And they're even using arrests as a diversion tactic where they're encouraging each other to get arrested to waste time and resources for ICE activity.
It's very cultish. You know, I don't know if you you seem like a normal person, so maybe you're not into like cult shows. I love watching shows about cults, and but this is one of the things that the fundamentalist LDS church, like the Warren Jeffs, the weirdos out there, this is one of the things that they do. Also, some immigrant groups do this as well, which is to overwhelm the system. It's part of warfare. The idea is if you can't overwhelm the system with force, so you overwhelm it with stress. You put as many people as possible on welfare. You have no intention of getting off it. The intention is to drain the American taxpayer. That's what that sounds like to me.
Yes, I mean that's exactly what they're doing. They want to grow the movement as big as possible, and they'll take the deaths of people like Renee Good, and they'll use that as a recruitment tool. When she died, Defend the 612 held an emergency vigil in which they handed out flyers to sign up for the website, and then said, we had a lot of success with this method. We got 1,000 new signups in a matter of hours. And they did the same thing after Alex Preddy died. They are just using these deaths as a way to expand and grow their movement. They believe there's strength in numbers. They believe that, they can't possibly arrest all of us, or we can't all get killed, I guess. So they're just trying to have a revolution, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to get into the minds exactly.
It's so nihilistic, though, isn't it? It is. It reminds me of, or what I'm thinking of as you're talking. I'm thinking of the mayor of New York, Zoran Mamdani, talking about the warmth of collectivism, and this is what this is, right? This is an expansion on that idea that they don't seem to care who's on the front lines. Like Renee Good is dead, Alex Preddy is dead, and these are not the top of the chain, the food chain that you and I were just discussing. They are the people that as you have been reporting on, are on the front lines. They're not rich people, wealthy people, well-connected people. They're just regular soldiers. And when I hear, like I heard the actor Giancarlo Esposito the other day say, well, they can't kill all of us, we'll have a revolution. They can't kill all of us. Who exactly are you suggesting should be killed? Which ones of us is okay to kill in order to get your point? My point is, Christina, I think is, as I'm listening to you talk, what I'm hearing these people saying is somebody's going to have to die. And it might as well be you on the front lines. When they say there's strength in numbers, they don't mean community. They mean we got a lot of bodies to throw at the problem.
Right. And so the architects of this movement, these people are salaried, progressive nonprofit workers. But the model itself is designed to scale and sustain itself through volunteers. And I think one of the things that troubled me the most is, I watched this training that Defend the 612 held the day after Renee Good died. And I was expecting to hear something along the lines of, don't do what Renee Good did. Put your personal safety first. And that never happened. In fact, it was the opposite. They downplayed her death. They said Renee Good was doing a driving patrol. And, there's some risk involved, some physical risk involved with doing driving patrols. But the biggest risk of all is to do nothing. And then they went on to instruct the participants to not comply with ICE's orders and then to stretch their willingness to take risks. And throughout it, they were delegitimizing law enforcement. And I just couldn't help but feel like this is extremely dangerous. And when, the videos surface of Renee Good from the perspective of the law enforcement officials. You could see she was laughing, she was smiling, she didn't take him seriously. She didn't understand the risks involved in what she was doing. And then when you compare that to what they're training in these ICE Watch trainings, like they are giving people a false sense of security and encouraging them into these like really volatile encounters. And, you can, even if you have like a critical view of ICE, like it's not incompatible with what I discovered in my reporting. Like they view ICE as dangerous, but they want to push people into these volatile encounters.
I'm so glad you said that, because that was one of the things that really disturbed me about the Renee Good case, that there was no there were some weirdos online like mourning and, the awfuls, the affluent white liberal women making a big show of crying. But for the most part, there wasn't grief, or there wasn't sort of like, this is terrible. This person, we can avoid this, pull back. It was glee almost that it happened. And as you were talking, it made me think of Renee Good's partner, the woman who was there with her as well. And as we played back the video, we hear her as Renee gets shot, her partner, she says, "Why are there real bullets in your gun?" That made me wonder, Christina, that actually made me wonder if there is a lot darker thing going on here that is actually could be prosecuted. Is it like to send out soldiers to the front lines with false information that you can't die? You're going into a video game. You can't die. These people, they're not allowed to shoot you, and they don't have real bullets. I'm wondering, have you seen that type of discourse in some of the chat rooms or some of the communications you've seen?
Well, just the Signal network in itself, it's massive. Hundreds of groups, thousands and thousands of people spread across them. But when you look at the rapid response groups, they have this live phone call going on at all times. And you can't help but feel like these people think they're in some kind of video game. They think they're secret agents. And also, how do they have this much time? Why aren't they working? Because the call is going on from morning until night. All these people on there, copy, Roger, eyes on this, just license plate numbers, tracking ICE, stalking them essentially in their car or by foot. And it's really quite strange. Found that to be very strange.
I need everyone to understand what's happening here. All the things that we have been told are separate and isolated events in our culture over the last 30 years are culminating in this moment. So what Christina is telling us is that these are not the professionals that are at the Renee Good level. These are average people. It's a huge volunteer network. How do you get those people? You get them in kindergarten. You get them in kindergarten, and you don't educate them to be patriotic. You educate them to hate this country. Then you take away their drive and ability to get married and produce families, which necessarily make people more rational and more calm and more ready for peace than war. You strip that. You tell women they don't need that. And then you isolate people for 2 to 4 years on the back of a fake pandemic. Cut them off from their families, cut them off from their support systems, force them to go online for their support systems. And then they develop this dark web of people who are also angry, abandoned, lonely, and indoctrinated. Now we have an entire network of domestic terror groups, homegrown. Basically what you're describing to me, Christina, are domestic terror groups.
There is a lot of that going on too. Like you have like the well-intentioned folks, and then you have the radicals in the movement. And there are members who will say, this is a big tent. We don't criticize other people's tactics. But I decided to criticize some of their tactics in a couple of the groups. I criticized their approach to protests, and I said we should only have a nonviolent approach to protest. And then I ended up getting kicked out of the groups for saying that.
Wow. So you actually, people, are you getting it yet? It's not organic, and it's not, for you to say, and again, these are the people who are also going, ICE is racist, Nonviolence is the hallmark of the most influential civil rights movement of all time, led by Dr. Martin Luther King.
They did say that. Yeah.
They did say that?
Oh, yeah.
What did they say?
Framed it as like this historical justified tactic. They said, go read history books. And they implied to me that like violence was, we didn't get anything good without violence, they said, essentially.
Incredible. That is incredible. It's a complete rewriting of history. Again, everybody, this starts in kindergarten, right? And then they don't tell you about the civil rights movement and the nonviolent versus the violent. And the nonviolent one, only people violent in the civil rights movement that won anything was the government. They were the only people that won anything with violence in the civil rights movement. Mm-hmm. And it only lasted so long for them. All right. I could keep you forever, Christina, because this goes a lot deeper, but what I'm going to do is I am going to encourage everybody to go find your work, follow you on X and Instagram, and follow you for what you're doing. We need to know about this stuff because this stuff is happening right in your own backyard too. And maybe you'll have the opportunity to call it out where you live. Christina, tell everybody where they can read more about your work and what you're doing.
I report for City Journal. That's city-journal.org. And I'm on social media as Buttons Lives.
Okay, great. Short and sweet. There you heard it, Christina Buttons. Thank you for your work out there. Good luck to you out there in non-California. And I'm jealous. Well, buy a gallon of gas for me, girl.
Yeah, well, I'll be out to visit. Thanks so much for having me on.
My pleasure, Christina. Godspeed to you. All right. Looks like we need to take another filthy capitalist timeout. Don't worry. I'll be back. I'm Kira Davis filling in for Dr. Drew, and you're watching Ask Dr. Drew live.
More of our audience is taking health and wellness into their own hands, and they're doing it with The Wellness Company. For a discount on the best-selling products and everything on their website, for that matter, go to drdrew.com/TWC. The medical emergency kits are among the most popular items. There are 8 different kits, each depending on your individual needs. Inside, you'll find antibiotics, antivirals, antiparasitics, first aid, anti-nauseal, skin treatments, and a kids kit with EpiPen and one for travel. The advantage to having an emergency kit in the house is immediacy. You don't have to run to the urgent care and spend a ton of money for all that infrastructure or wait for the pharmacy to open or try to find a doctor. And then there's Ultimate Spike Detox Supplement with nattokinase, turmeric, and bromelain. It has helped the vaccine injured. And anyone who is concerned about cardiovascular issues caused by lingering spike from the virus or the shots, the Ultimate Spike Detox is for you. One of TWC's top sellers is a topical ivermectin cream. It treats inflammation of the skin, issues like rosacea. The Wellness Company is always innovating. So go to drdrew.com/TWC to see what they have to offer and get a 10% discount there.
The other day he looked at me and he goes, "Hey, the V-Shred's working." He likes it when I try to look good for him.
You're nice. There's an excitement that comes with doing these kinds of workout that kind of sustains you through the day.
It's exhilarating.
It's not working out hours in the gym. It's not running on a treadmill forever. It's not killing yourself with diet. These are all very reasonable recommendations. You just got to follow it. We're actually really genuinely very excited about what we're getting out of this. We like doing it together. We're both in on this, and it's been a real fun adventure. I don't know where we stop.
In the first 2 weeks, I lost 5 pounds. So There you go.
In your 20s, it's easy, right? We put on muscle easily. We're fit. We got tons of stamina. But as you get older, you may not be able to lose weight as quickly or as easily. You may not be able to put muscle on so easily. And joints and muscles sometimes start to hurt. And you may think or may have been told that there's nothing you can do about it other than taking more pills, eating more salads, or just spending endless hours at the gym. Well, that isn't true. Thousands of people are in the best shape of their lives merely because they've taken the time to do 3 things. No crazy diets, no extraordinary workouts that can injure yourself or exhaust yourself. Just a simple plan that has been proven to work. Rather than me explaining this to you for 30 minutes, there's a 30-second quiz you can take. So if you want to learn more right now, click the link below to get your personal life plan. Hey, Dr. Drew here, and we are interested in health and longevity, and the longevity nutrient is Fatty 15, discovered amazingly by a veterinarian who was responsible for the Navy's fleet of dolphins. Turns out dolphins are healthier when they have adequate amounts of pentadecanoic acid, which is C15. It also, for us, it helps humans as well, reduces the oxidative stress on our cell membranes, which is part of the aging process called ferroptosis. So she takes it, I take it, whole family takes it.
And if you'd like some, go to drdrew.com/fatty15 for yours. There are discounts there.
Oh my God, look, Drew, it's a dolphin. Oh my gosh.
Welcome back, everybody, to Ask Dr. Drew. Drew is out today. As you can see, I am his very enthusiastic and excited guest host, Kira Davis. You can find me online on X. That's the best place to go find me. I do the most jabbering over there at Kira Davis. We just wrapped up a segment with Christina Buttons. Go find her. She's digging into those ICE networks. There's a lot there. And I want to just process what we just heard, because you heard me tell Christina that I covered the Occupy Wall Street. Remember those? I covered the Occupy Wall Street protests. I think we're going on 15 years now. I actually got kicked out of the Democrat National Convention in 2012. And you can probably find that story still on Breitbart. I went to the media area. Thank you. I went to the media area and I just stood there and held up a sign that says I'm Black and conservative and voting for Romney. I'm sorry. At the time, we didn't have any other option but Romney. And so I held that sign up and they kicked me out, went viral. So I have a lot of good memories of those days. But I learned a lot about the protest class when I was covering Occupy Wall Street. And I will tell you this, they didn't go anywhere. They didn't change. And by the way, let me explain to you again, all of this is connected. Right? Our I don't know any other word for it, so I just say enemies, but like our opposition, our enemies have forever been trying to convince us that none of this is connected. Why are you conservatives so worried about the changing the definition of gay marriage, you bigots? Why are you conservatives worried about changing what the nuclear family means, or what, and conservatives like me don't care what gay people do with each other and what they want to call each other. Couldn't care less. But to change the definition has serious cultural ramifications. And they want to isolate all of these things and tell us this doesn't matter and this doesn't matter and this doesn't matter. You're just making a mountain out of a molehill. But when does it matter? This is my point. When does it matter? Because now I'm 51. And I have 20 years in this business. That's 20 years of reporting. That's 20 years of opinion journalism. That's 20 years of meeting people from all over this country and talking about the same problems over and over and over again. And I'm telling you that the people who perpetrated Occupy Wall Street are the same people who gave us Antifa. They didn't change. It's the same people. All they did is went and regrouped. So here's how this is connected. Here's how Occupy Wall Street and Antifa are connected to your homeless problem in your city right now. During the Occupy Wall Street movement, which I think first popped up in 2009, 2010, during the Occupy Wall Street movement, one of the hallmarks of that protest movement was to camp out in public parks and in front of government buildings. And so one of the ways that the rational minded among us decided to control that, I believe, was that domestic terrorism movement. It was early domestic terrorism. One of the ways that sensible people used to control it was to enforce laws that were already on the books, camping laws. You can't camp in public spaces, enforce the camping laws, boom, done. Because in places like Denver, I was there at the genesis of Denver's current state of disrepair. It was the Occupy Wall Street movement. When I went there to cover that very first Denver protest, Denver was still a lovely, wonderful city. But they had camping ordinances. And what it did is it allowed people to camp in city parks, camp in front of government buildings, and Occupy did that, right? But one of the things they did, and you heard Christina talk about it, you heard her talking about it. She talked about one of the things they do is they recruit the normies, right? Or they recruit the low-level volunteers, the people who don't really have jobs, don't really have lives. A lot of them might even be homeless themselves. And what they say is, here's groceries. Here's a tent. All you got to do is go pitch it in the park in front of City Hall. Here's a tent. Here, we'll deliver food to you. They deliver food. They have hot meals. You can even go to the Chaz Facebook page. Remember that in Portland? I think they're still functioning. And they'll brag about their security forces, their kitchens, their, medical tents. Like they basically will provide all of the basic comfort levels. So what happens? The homeless people move into those parks, those city hall buildings in Santa Ana here in Orange County. That's our county seat. They opened the county courthouse to homeless encampments, and you literally had to wade through the homeless encampments to get to your court appointment, whatever that might be. I served jury duty there for a week, and I had to have the sheriff, we had to have the sheriff escort us out every day. By law, the homeless people were allowed to camp directly in front of the doors of the courthouse. That's because of Occupy Wall Street. What the Democrats did, much like Kamala Harris and her cronies did in the Summer O' Love, the Summer O' BLM, where they went and bailed out those people, much like they did here in this timeline. Back then, what those people were doing is they were running interference with legislatures, with city councils. They were pushing lobby laws. And then, of course, the Democrats and the liberals, just the way they're doing with the anti-ICE face mask laws, they used those homeless ordinances as virtue signaling. So they were like, we're going to strike this down. No, it shouldn't be illegal to camp anywhere. And this is just an excuse to thwart the protesters. Fast forward to almost 20 years later, and most cities have not gotten rid of their homeless, of their public camping ordinances. They have not reinstated them. That's why you have a homeless issue. And that's what they did it on purpose. That was not an accident. That was not a thing of, oh, we'll do this so we can get our people on the front lines. And then when the movement goes away, well, whatever, the city will deal with it. It's on purpose. They did it on purpose. They started a war, and then they left their drugged out, mentally ill soldiers camped out on the front lines for the next time they needed them. In the meantime, they were there to demoralize us, to attack us, to drive us out of the state like they did Christina and so many thousands of other Californians. They did that to create a sense of fear and a loss of control. And that is the atmosphere that the average Californian has been living under for the last 20 years. And then when all of this came for full circle and Wall Street got to rebrand themselves as Antifa, and all they had to do, folks, do you even see? All they had to do was literally just step right back into the boots they left at the county courthouse with the homeless folks. They didn't even have to establish a new line. They didn't even have to draw a new front line. They didn't even have to take any territory. They just went right back to the encampments that they left the first time around 20 years ago. Are you paying attention? None of this is an accident, and none of this is just an unhappy coincidence. This is all on purpose. Carl DeMaio said it in the first segment. If not you, who? If not now, when? And I saw some comments saying, go for it, Kira. Unload on the satanic cult. The left and many on the right have been screeching and screaming for years now for the full release of the Epstein files. And Trump kept saying, it's not going to help. It's not going to help. It's going to make things worse, not better. And you've been screeching and screaming, and now they're here. And what's in them? Worse, not better, worse. The worst, worse than you could ever imagine. You see professors emailing Epstein about how to make babies suck harder on pacifiers. Emails talking about how babies taste like cream cheese. Emails talking about satanic ritual abuse. It's all right there. It's all right there in the files that you people screeched to have released for years. And now no one's talking about it. Babies taste like cream cheese seems to me like that should be on the front page of every major news organization. Anyone who calls themselves takes themselves seriously as a journalistic organization. As a matter of fact, CNN and MS or M Snow, whatever the hell they call themselves now, a bunch of retards, that's what they should call themselves. Because these people have been doing nothing but screaming Epstein's name every time Trump gets a win, every time a conservative or a Republican wants to talk about anything else. All they do is Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. It's their little poke. It's their little dig. It's their little like, this is my win. This is my win now. Oh yeah, Trump did this. Well, Epstein. Okay, you won. You won. Here's the files. None of y'all have a damn thing to say. I'm just the guest host. It's not very appropriate for a guest host to cuss on a show that they are guest hosting. I will just say, you can all go F yourselves. There is a global satanic cult that is involved in the machinations of nearly every nation on earth. We have 230,000 missing children that have come across this border. We don't know where they are. Like, seriously, where are they? You think that they just got absorbed into our stellar foster care system? Like, no one's asking the deeper questions. Everybody's just happy to let everything sit on the surface and not really dig deeper into where that's. Nobody asks follow-up questions. I know a lot of you here are the 230,000 children. No one's asked, where are they not? They're not in our foster care system. We received an overflow of new kids in the foster care system. They're not in our churches. I don't think Don Lemon found any when he invaded the church in Minneapolis. I don't think that's what he was looking for, enslaved children. I might be wrong. He says he was a civil rights warrior, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the idiot. We know they haven't gone into loving homes. There's no big reports of these great, Americans across the country who are taking in dozens and dozens of immigrant children. Where are they? Where have they gone? The best case scenario is that they're working on a weed farm somewhere. They're just employed or they're sewing, jackets in a basement somewhere. And that's the best case scenario. For the worst case scenario, go read the Epstein files that you people screamed about for years. I know I'm supposed to take it to church on here, but in Christian faith, we believe that, humans have dominion, like the earth is ours. We're supposed to be here. And the only way that the enemy has claim to that is if we invite them in, because it's ours. It's like your house is your house unless you invite someone through the door, like a vampire. And so when all of this stuff, this information gets released, if you don't say anything, if you don't mention it, if you aren't disturbed by it, and you're not doing something to inform people about it and to combat it, then you're part of the problem. You're complicit, right? That's permission. What you're doing is giving those people permission to continue their illicit activities. So when we released the Epstein file, I'm sorry, Drew. I'm so sorry. I tried. I really tried. I swear I tried not to get into the satanic global cult thing. I did my best. I'm just a humble mom. I'm just a humble conspiracy theorist here in Southern California. But if you don't say anything, you give the enemy to keep doing what they're doing. And we haven't said anything. We have unleashed all of these files onto the American public, and there is no coordinated public response to it. We have accepted the invitation, my friends. So we've actually unleashed a lot of darkness on this nation that I'm frightened about. But I feel encouragement in a lot of other places. And I actually do believe we're ultimately going to win the battle for the soul of this nation. I do. And I believed it for a long time. But I haven't really seen evidence of it. It's just kind of been going on faith. But lately I've been seeing a lot of evidence. And I think you've seen that in the two guests that we had today, Carl and Christina. Carl, who is working here on the state level in California, petitions, getting things on the ballot. Ramperoff is one, he's representing us up there in Sacramento. And Christina, who's doing it from the investigative end. And I'll close the show with this. When we inaugurated President Trump in January of 2025, and we inaugurated him with a mandate, a very clear mandate, mass deportations. That's what we wanted. Among other things, we wanted law and order, mass deportations, clean up the mess that has been made. And one of the steady criticisms from the left and the right, the conservative contrarians, I call them. I don't really have a lot of love for those people. The people who are like, I'm not like one of those right-wing weirdo conservatives. I'm more middle of the road. No, pick a lane. Even God himself says, I hate lukewarm. I will turn my head and spit you out. That's very bold language. That's very bold language. grow a pair, everybody, please. But I will say, I'll close with this. When he took office, a lot of people in left and right were saying, how do you expect to deport 30 million people or 20 million people or whatever we think this number is? I think it's closer to 40. How do you do that in 4 years? It's impossible. It can't be done. We're going to have to scale back. Just do the worst first. Forget about the rest. Let's do whatever, an amnesty program. God, that coming up again, whatever. All kinds of solutions being thrown at us besides the solution of just mass deportation. And the big question is, how do you expect to do that, Kira? It's impossible. Well, no, it is possible. This is how we do it. The Carl DeMaios, the Christina Buttons, the Nick Shirleys of the world. Did you have any clue what was going on in Minnesota before 4 weeks ago? You might have had a little idea. You had no idea how bad it was. And by the way, we still haven't found out how bad it was. It's not Minnesota, folks. Minnesota is the hub for something very sinister that is happening across the U.S. It's a hub. So that's just the beginning. This is what we're facing. That's just the beginning. And the way we do this is every citizen involved. Remember the days of good old Uncle Sam and the propaganda posters? You're part of, it's Uncle Sam pointing at the picture. You are needed. You're part of the victory. And I love it that the White House is kind of going back to those old propaganda images from World War II. I love that because that is the idea. It is to give Americans a reason to feel pride, a reason to fight. Go join ICE. Go join Border Patrol. Go join the military. Be a part of securing the homeland. That's right. I want you to secure the homeland. I want you in this army of patriots. It's you. You'll make the calls on the illegal boats. We have this problem here in Southern California in Orange County, and the illegal boats landing on your beach. You'll make the call about the illegal standing on the corner at Home Depot. I know it sounds mean, but you're a soldier now and this is war. Can't be nice anymore. You'll be the one to make the call on the employers that are employing mass illegals. You'll be the one to do the Nick Shirley investigations. You'll be the Christina Buttons who gets in the chat rooms and exposes what's going on. No, President Trump is not going to deport 30 million illegal immigrants on his own. We're going to do it together. We're going to do it together. That's how it's going to be done. It's going to be you, it's me, it's all of us. And that is really what Trump said from the beginning. And that is what we saw with Carl and Christina too, that this is a mass effort. And even you just posting a story on your Twitter, posting a story on your Facebook page for people that you think might not, see it any other way. For a while there, I wouldn't post controversial stories to my Facebook. I wouldn't even post my own work. And this is my job. This is my career. And I wouldn't even post it on my personal Facebook page for friends and family to see because I have a large liberal base and they're mean. But recently I have decided to forget that. And I have been doing that. And I do get some nasty comments from people who call themselves my friends and family. But you know what I think every time I see it? Oh, well, at least you saw it. Because you sure didn't see it on M Snow. And you sure didn't see it on CNN. Where somebody mentioned the Civil War. This is a civil war. We've actually been in the Civil War for quite a while. The problem is that the right has not known it. We have not known it, but the left knew, and we're only now just catching up. The good news is that we're smart. We're determined. We've won revolutionary wars. We're armed with both information and weaponry, and we have shows like Ask Dr. Drew to help guide us through all of the messiness and the chaos of what it is to be a modern American. How'd you like that transition, everybody? I'm a pro. That's why they pay me the big bucks. This means, thank you. This means it is time to come to the end of our broadcast today. And it has been my extreme privilege to be here with you. As always, please do follow me. X is the best place. You can interact with me on there. I'm there all day long. Jabbering about this, that, and the other. It's Kira Davis. You can go look up my podcast on YouTube. I just started trying to populate Rumble. I don't use either of those platforms very much, to be honest with you. This is what I do. I guest host and I write. But go find me there because you'll hear me talking. Go buy my book. That book, I'm not just saying this because I want you to buy the book. I wrote this book in 2022 and kind of thought, well, it's not, a few years go by and it'll be irrelevant. It's more relevant than ever. Matter of fact, I'm thinking about doing a public reading. And this is how God works. And you think you've lost the battle and then something else comes around and you're like, wow, no, I was right on target. This book was right on target. I wrote it in 2022. And I talk about what you have to draw your line right where you are, right where you're standing. We're at war. And if you don't stand up and say here or no further, no one's going to do it for you. So you've got to figure out where you're going to be effective. Not everyone can run for office. Not everyone can have a podcast. Not everyone can be Dr. Drew and have a million projects to do. Sometimes you're just posting on Facebook, or sometimes you go get on your library board, or you go volunteer somewhere. So it's a whole book of ideas for what you can do where you are to be a part of the battle. But I'm afraid, my friends, that for this season, there is no peace. We are not in a season of peace. We are in a season of war. And there is no such thing as neutrality in war. There isn't. So you're going to have to decide which side. And it is not a left or right battle anymore. It is not. It is not a Republican versus Democrat battle. It is the elites versus the rest of us. It's America versus the world. You choose. Go find me everywhere. Thank you so much to Dr. Drew, to Caleb, Emily, the whole crew, making sure I had a good show today. Thank you to the viewers, of course, for tuning in. I know it's tough when you find a guest host and you're like, this isn't my regular guy, but thanks for tuning in and having fun with us anyway. Dr. Drew will be back, so no worries. Until we meet again, hey, everybody, remember, America doesn't owe you anything. America does not owe you an opportunity. America is the opportunity. So go take it.
Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. Emily Barsh is our content producer.
As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help.